Guys, welcome to another episode of Adjourned, and today we have a panel which is full of lawyers. And वो कहते हैं ना कि स्कूल से ग्रेजुएट करने के बाद हमने क्या किया, दो रास्ते थे हमारे पास, या तो शराफत और वकालत. And we all opted for wakalat. And I'm going to start by introducing my panel, and I'm going to start with Srishti. Srishti is also a litigating lawyer who has experience on more on the criminal side, if I'm not wrong, and she's very passionate about working for the refugees. Correct? And then we have Urvi. Urvi is here with us, and she's the senior most in our panel today, and she specializes in labor and service laws and works for the government. And then we have Anshul. Anshul here is a lawyer. He's a videography enthusiast,
Yeah.
former restaurateur,
Yeah.
and you are the creator of this podcast.
Yeah.
And you are always trying new things.
Yeah.
And we are doing a lot of things together which you've not done before.
Yeah, I think content strategist, philanthropist.
And the list doesn't end.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we change the vibe of this episode and let's talk to each other as we did whenever we bumped into each other in court.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that'll be easier, that'll be better. And let's start talking about how or what this profession entails. You know, जब हमने decide किया कि okay वकालत करते हैं या law school जाते हैं, what did we have in mind? Like I'm going to start with Anshul.
Well, to be honest, law didn't happen to me in the first place by choice, by my conscious choice in the first place. It was something that was like a skewed decision. Just majority of the kids in schools today don't know what to take up, science or like take up arts or take up some subject. Law also was the same thing. In fact, I was selected for the NDA. I went for training and everything.
Wow.
So I was.
देश के वीर जवान.
By choice, I was destined to become an Air Force pilot, but things didn't pan out exactly over there. And after that, I took up engineering.
What all have you done? What all have you done?
Then I dropped engineering because clearly it wasn't.
Did you not
interesting
hear
enough.
my introduction?
Likes to try new things.
Then I finally took up law. And that too also was because one of my exes had done law that time and she seemed to be really happy. She seemed really happy in life. So I was like, okay,
myth.
maybe like you become happy if you're...
This is what happens when you follow your ex's path.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that now?
No, like the ex gave me
The wrong path to follow.
pretty good actually because like I've done fairly well in terms of like, my practice. So sure, because of the ex, I might have gotten the exposure that law gives me happiness, but after that it was surely a choice that I knew because like try to understand, like I've already like taken myself out of NDA, then engineering is also like over. So for me the ground is like literally open and I can select whatever the fuck I'm supposed to do. Like it can be as random
तैयार
as
हो हर चीज को embrace करने के लिए.
Yes, and so when I started law that time, sure, we all of us had those notions कि हाँ, we inspector बनेंगे, judge बनेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. But then, like when you enter the practice, oh boy,
Boy, oh boy.
And I think, you know, like some of us also enter the profession thinking कि हमको भला करना है. I wanted to be an environmentalist.
Yeah.
And someone here is a very avid human rights supporter. And I'm sure you wish to work in that field. You've been working in that field. if I'm
I've
not
been
wrong.
trying to actually,
Yeah.
but I honestly, when I was a kid, I realized that everything around you is governed by law.
Yeah.
Even if you want to go to medical or like you want to do engineering, everything has to be regulated by one thing that is called law.
Right.
So I, also used to feel like I used to reason it out with my folks that I don't think the law is too bad. It's the people who are not implementing it or understanding it. So I wanted to be the change maker. I still want to, but then like when I go to court every day, my myth is busted, and I'm like, oh, reality check. But then again, I redetermine, come back home, redetermine, rejuvenate myself, and get ready for the next day. So that's what I'm trying to do, because I think we should have.
Yeah, I think like in general practice also like the onboarding of a lawyer from college to courts is like it's very pathetic. It's overwhelming in the
Yeah.
first
And
place.
ऐसा ज़रूरी भी नहीं है ना that if you went to law school, you are going to end up in litigation.
That-
That's true.
You could be
There's so
anywhere.
many people, in fact, from my law school, and I'm sure your law schools also, who've taken towards culinary, choices.
Yeah.
Or somebody's done an MBA or
Right.
something else.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
to each
immediately
their own.
after law
Yeah,
school.
immediately
Yeah.
after. Some
Profession-
people actually dropped off.
Yeah.
They dropped out of law school because somewhere down the line they realized that's not what they wanted
Yeah,
to do.
yeah,
I mean, for me, for instance, I never thought of doing law also because I come from Patna. So there, back in 2009, all this glamour that, in the last 5 to 10 years we've associated
Harvey
with
Specter.
law,
Yeah.
that
Didn't
wasn't
exist.
there then.
Yeah.
We didn't know that there were so many MNCs coming and corporate law is a thing, and all you would know is, these really
Wakalat.
aged senior lawyers who would actually go and do wakalat in courts. There was no concept of in-house. In-house corporate kya hota hai? Kuch nahi, nothing. We didn't even know.
Did you think about becoming the AOR at the Patna High Court?
So
No,
you knew when you were getting into law school that you'd be getting out of Patna. And just a disclaimer, I'm also from Patna.
Yeah. So I think I was very clear. Even my folks were very clear about the fact that I have to get out of Patna. Because let's face it, things, and you know it.
In 2009.
Yeah.
Or
things-
even
even
like
now,
now,
for that
yeah.
matter, the problem has been the brain drain that we talk about, from India to abroad and the West particularly. We've seen it within the country itself.
From Bihar to Delhi.
Yeah, from Bihar to Delhi a lot. Bihar, UP.
You will find Biharis everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
They are
we do all
everywhere.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
From driving auto rickshaws to cabs to being lawyers to CEOs to literally everything. And the sad fact is we don't have the choice to go back and do any of this because that's the kind of atmosphere that at least was there and to some extent still exists there.
It is.
There's still a lot of resistance.
There's a lot of resistance to change. Yeah, that's true. So I
But the good thing is that the people who actually do end up changing are minting like anything. And ever since I have tried to look at my law practice in a non-traditional way, the lucrative opportunities have just mushroomed in ways that even I can't imagine that, okay, even that was possible.
Yeah.
I wanted to code an app, I tried to find a legal coder. There is no legal coder in India or anywhere else. And imagine...
You fill the void actually. You're filling the void.
Yeah, and when I realized that the kind of opportunities available out there for legal coders, legal tech is like something that a lot of
it's up and coming and there's a big void.
Yeah.
And that whole point of change, I mean, all of us when we were growing up, I'm sure we watched movies like Rang De Basanti and things like that, when you wanted to grow up and do something and bring about some change.
And you would romanticize the idea of making a difference.
Yeah. And in fact, much before the movie also came, I was always involved with, working with student organizations, even back home in Bihar, going on field trips and, looking at what is the condition of government schools? Are they really actually imparting any education? What is the infrastructure they have? छप्पर के नीचे 10 बच्चों को बिठा के पढ़ा रहे हैं, धूप हो रही है, बारिश हो रही है, ठंड हो रही है, those kids are just there. What is their future and where are the government grants going? So I actually wanted to be a journalist because I wanted to contribute towards making that change by being a journalist and also, growing up, then watching Barkha Dutt and Rajdeep Sardesai. It was a very different time then. But of course, I was told by my family that, हमारे खानदान की लड़कियां journalism नहीं कर सकती and all of that because you're going to run after people asking for bikes. Who does that? We don't do that. So then the next thing was, I was of course, unlike you, I didn't have the choice. I mean, I'm happy that you managed to get so many choices. I wasn't actually given so many choices. I was told to do engineering. I mean, prepare for engineering and medical both. So I was one of those.
From Bihar.
Yeah. Because if you're not an engineer or a doctor or an IAS,
You are a loser.
you're useless, right? And again, the other commonly said thing is, जो कुछ नहीं करता वो वकालत तो कर ही लेता है.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that was the idea. So I was forced to take up PCMB and I fucked it up. And how? I got 34 in my mathematics 12 standard exam. I'm pretty sure.
No, I got 25. 1/4. Exactly 1/4.
I'm married.
You failed.
I'm
Yeah, I
married to
failed.
somebody who also got a 34 in his maths. So well,
You
I'm
guys
sure.
are like meant for each other.
Yeah, like 33 passing होगा. The invigilator must have been like, यार एक number दे
pass कर देते
grace marks दे देते हैं वरना बेचारी poor thing लटक जाएगी for no reason.
नहीं 12th में पास हो गई
So
थी,
law for
11th
me
की बात।
also was by accident because what else would I do? Engineering तो होगा नहीं, medical होगा नहीं, journalism के तब marks नहीं है ना because PCMB. So where would I all my dreams of going to DU and becoming a killer journalist, they were
Dead.
They were dead. They were killed, butchered, dead. Though they were
Shattered,
killed. That's why,
shattered, yeah.
shattered. Yeah.
Has that transpired into like your practice that now you look at writing articles as a journalist or trying to cover up things? Or
Well, unfortunately,
No,
writing
it's
has
actually
been
very
a
interesting
problem.
because you work for the government.
Yeah, now I was just.
So
yeah.
it must be a very interesting position for you to be in because if you want to make a difference, you can. But at the same time, कभी-कभी तुम चीजें देख के तुम्हें अपना सर मारने का मन करता होगा
You're
दीवार पे.
constrained. You're
So I'll tell you. So in fact, because I've come on the panel now for the last 1 year, but I've been, you know that, I've been working for the government for the last 5.5 years.
Right.
And for different governments, for the state government, the central government, and all of that. And the biggest, obviously, the conflict is that you are supposed to do your client's bidding,
Right.
but sometimes your client's bidding may not necessarily be the right thing
to do, exactly.
right? And you've got to have your ethics also in place, but at the same time, you have to represent your client before a court of law. So, but above everything else, as an advocate, as a lawyer, you know that you are an officer of the court, so you have to do the right thing, the fair thing. So, which is probably why I get into a lot of confrontations with my clients, the government clients, because I'm trying to nudge them to do the right thing.
Right.
Most of the times, especially with state authorities and everything, there's a lot of inertia because of the bureaucratic system and the red tapeism.
And because how the things been
conditioning.
functioning, जिसको जिसकी
Yeah, and nobody
जो
wants
जैसे
to,
करने की आदत है.
nobody wants to give anything likhit mein
Yeah,
because they will
Nobody
be
wants to take the
asked questions.
responsibility,
People will get transferred and things like that. So nobody wants to take that responsibility, and there's so much inertia.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to do the right thing, there is a lot of head-on collision which happens. It used to happen. It still happens on a day-to-day basis. But at the end of the day, it helps me sleep at night in peace. Because in my, whatever smallest way that I can contribute towards bringing about a change, I can't.
doing that.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I practice this as a profession. This is my bread and butter. I cannot quit this and, go and participate in a protest. I mean, due respect to everybody who can. I've also done that from time to time. But I can't do that for a living. That's not what I am as a professional. I am a lawyer as a professional, and I will try the best way to use whatever I'm doing to give back.
And also, you hold that authority now. You have that sort of space where you can.
Ask my clients.
No, but you have that sort of space.
No, the fact
where
that you can, call them
Yeah.
up and tell them that, listen, this is what we have received.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is the PIL.
Yeah.
This is the problem. But this is what the law says. So tell me, why are things the way that they are? Because the court is going to ask you anyway.
Yeah,
And
Absolutely.
you can ask them the right questions, which probably somebody else is not able to.
Yeah,
Like a
and-
journalist is going to ask them for probably just what they want
But
to show on the
nothing's going
TV.
to come out of
it. Like there is,
you
there
can
is
actually,
absolutely-
make the machinery move.
So
And
we did that. And in fact, last time we were talking about it. This Delhi building and other construction workers welfare board that used to be in the pandemic. So the first set of PILs and other petitions started to come up in the Delhi High Court and also the Supreme Court level. Now, this board is meant for the benefit of construction workers, including migrant workers and building workers and everything. And this board in Delhi used to have a total strength of only 39,000 registered construction workers. Now, it is unimaginable
Yeah.
that in Delhi, the number of construction workers will only be 39,000. It's not possible.
It's not possible.
The reason was the mechanism to register, renew, it was so complicated and so tedious.
that they just...
And I would, when I started doing those matters with my senior, I would randomly go up to workers. He would randomly go up to workers working in the High Court or outside our office and ask them, do you know of this board? Do you know this exists? Do you know these schemes exist for you?
Right.
They wouldn't know.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't know. And as lawyers for the government, for the department, of course, it was very challenging because the bench was Justice Sanghi's bench, and he was asking us questions left, right, and center. And the other side was pointing out all sorts of deficiencies, and we didn't have answers because the fact was, and in fact, in one of the hearings, they took the bench through the form. It was a 13 pages complicated form to be filled in English.
How will...
How can you
yeah,
expect?
Yeah,
My
it's
God.
not possible, right? So these were the kind of things we were dealing with. And
Right,
today we stand, I think the number today in about 2 years is, I think, around 11 lakhs or something.
My
So
God.
that itself means that, there was a body which the law was there. The law helped create that statutory
provision
authority.
was there.
Everything was there.
But the
and it was being
mechanism-
implemented also, but the way it was implemented was just not reaching the
Pointless. Yeah,
beneficiaries.
yeah.
So it's completely pointless. Absolutely.
It's as simple as ration. People don't have ration cards because
Yeah.
it's so difficult
To
to
get-
just go and get your number and everything.
Or your
And-
Aadhaar.
or your Aadhaar
Yeah.
card, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's so difficult to survive. Just think of what they must be going through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And especially in the pandemic,
Yeah, right.
when there was a dearth of everything.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about the pandemic, I would like us to reel a little back to March 2020, जब हमने पहली बार एक्सपीरियंस किया कि ओके कोर्ट्स बंद हो रहे हैं, पहले तो जनता कर्फ्यू के लिए, फिर इनडेफिनेटली बंद हो रहे हैं. जहाँ तक मुझे याद है, बिकॉज आई रिमेंबर फ्रॉम अप्रैल 2020 to June, there was an absolute
complete,
lull.
yeah.
We had never seen our lives as litigating lawyers कि हम work from home करेंगे, और work तो उस समय कुछ था नहीं. Like I didn't have
The first
my-
40 days are
कोर्ट नहीं
nothing.
जा सकते, मतलब
कोर्ट
नहीं
या
जा सकते.
कोर्ट नहीं जा सकते, हम घर से नहीं निकल
नहीं,
पाते
हाँ,
यार,
मतलब
सिर्फ
हाँ.
कचरा डालने नीचे
And
जाना
it
है
was
यार.
so
Yeah.
strange to look at judges appearing through VC on your
Yeah.
computers.
Yeah.
But you know, like
So
VC
weird.
happened much later. I think VC happened after the first 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
And I
Probably
think
quite some
July,
time.
August, probably.
It was
July.
somewhere around that time.
yeah, urgent matters were started by the Delhi High Court in July of 2020, and then I think धीरे धीरे हमने October end November of 2020 में we came up with a hybrid method that
No, first the urgency
Super
came.
urgent,
yeah, super urgent
Either
matters.
concerning a matter of life and death or damage
Yeah,
to
so
property.
those are the kind of matters we were doing for the workers, and
Yeah.
it was just so strange. And it was not just looking at the judges through a VC screen, also you not having physical files because we're so used to flipping through pages and putting post-its and flags.
Yeah.
That wasn't there. And then your senior sitting at his
In a
or her
different-
house,
yeah.
and you sitting in your house.
Yeah.
And obviously you're constantly anxious because the internet connection is not something you can totally rely on. And if it goes off even for 5 seconds, the court is not going to wait for you.
Right.
But if it happens on the other side, then of course you will sit
Yeah,
and
that's
wait.
there. And there were a bunch of weird things happening as well, because I remember I was there in that hearing जब जूही चावला वाला matter था, and somebody was like
Justice Middle. Yeah.
and I was like, who is this person? ये क्या कर रहे हैं?
Those are the perils, no?
Yeah.
I mean, you give that kind of freedom and that kind
Random
of agency to
person.
people.
Yeah.
Having
And this is-
breakfast, having
Yeah.
food.
People sitting in their banyans.
Yeah.
And the court telling them कि sir.
But at the same point, I think it's good that all of this happens because, in a way, it points towards the gaping nonsense that, as a lawyer, is supposed to go through the process of wearing a band, wearing a gown. Like, all of that is pathetic. Like, try and understand, like, small things don't matter to us because we're, like, looking at all of it from an eagle's eye view. And, like, us lawyers, what do we think? Like, fees aa gayi, relief aa gaya. That's the end of the story. Like we
I
all-
would honestly look at the boys in the High Court, and one of the people that I knew back then pointed it out कि do you understand कि तुम लोग चप्पल पहन के जाते हो, and it's so much easier for you.
Yeah.
हम जूते पहनते हो, हम 14 घंटे बाद
मुझे रोज
जूते
सुनने को
उतारते
मिलता है
हैं.
every single
And
day because
that's,
I
you know,
can wear
like,
like
that's what I
different
realized.
footwear. I can wear
Yeah.
like different grey t-shirt.
Buddy,
not
we
t-shirt.
could wear like plazos.
Yeah,
So
plazos.
I'm not
And-
looking at it from the angle that you want to have an expression by the way you dress up in court.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like there's just so much complication right from the point where you're supposed to make a filing to the point that you're supposed to appear in court.
And the way you're supposed to appear.
wear in court, yeah.
So like saying my lords and all that stuff, like we're still living in an archaic system. jahan pe,
It's all
like,
our colonial legacy which we refuse to let
the
go.
fun part is that none of it really deserves any respect whatsoever. Like I'm sure no judge, no lawyer, no law minister, no legal luminary in their right mind would say that we live in a respectable system that is consistent with 2022 in the first place. Like the age that we live in at our home, probably 5-year-olds are far more tech friendly with their everyday schedule to play, I don't know, Ludo.
There was a that's the thing that I wanted to bring up next. That when we were in the pandemic, courts went hybrid. हमने e-filing करनी start करी और थोड़ा दिल में दर्द होना बंद हुआ कि हम इतने papers एक साथ print करा के we're filing it. And then I think then
And you don't have to lug so many files around, yeah.
yeah.
And I was feeling so good about the clerks not being so burdened.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I mean,
even
nobody
the
thinks
seniors.
about that, but they
Also,
they
us not
carry
having to run after
run
the
after.
clerks so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
also there.
And वो फाइलें खींच के लेके जाना and
it's like a
guys,
painful
not
It's
process.
legit given me like borderline spondylitis.
Correct.
Because of carrying such files
And
all
I
the
remember
time.
एक बार मेरे एक हाथ में इतनी फाइल्स हैं because clerk नहीं आया, दूसरे कोर्ट में मैटर रीच हो गया, मैं भाग रही हूँ, मैं I can't leave these files, man. That was a sensitive
क्लर्क्स को भी
matter.
तो चूतिया बनाने का जो उनका सारा साधन था वो खत्म हो गया. पहले तो बोलते थे कि
Yeah, they were damn miffed about it.
they were like कि अब-
बुरा लगा
They
उनको.
felt they were not needed anymore.
because majority of the clerks don't earn a salary.
Yeah,
That's not their main
that's
source. The
true.
main source is the
Filing.
the filing and the margin that they cut in between in the name of expenses. कि अच्छा ये photocopy.
Miscellaneous.
हाँ सुप्रीम कोर्ट में 50 पैसे की फोटोकॉपी होती है बट यू एज अ लॉयर यू विल गो लाइक
पटियाला हाउस चले जाओ.
हाँ 50 पैसे की एंड लाइक सो आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाउ लार्ज द स्केल इज. 2 रुपए की पड़ती है टू द एंड कंज्यूमर, बीट द क्लाइंट बीट द लॉयर, अगर खुद जाके करो आप. And that machine is probably printing close to 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs copies a day. So that's one machine.
$1.5 extra per page.
Per page,
Yeah.
Correct.
So
That is just unreal.
and clerks will be like obviously very miffed about it. Like yeah, you were saying, ki, come on man, like it's the innovation that's making things easier, but at the same point in time killing an industry that survives on mechanical labor.
It's actually the intermediaries who have been affected the most, like the middlemen.
But
like
see,
the lot of-
that was in the end. So around that time, Delhi High Court came up with, I think, A4 पे पहले ही हो गया था ना कि A4 पे ही फाइलिंग होएगी.
नहीं वो
नहीं,
अभी
double
आया
sided
है.
है.
Recently, that's
Very recently.
That's
नहीं
about
ट्रिब्यूनल्स में तो अभी भी बहुत टाइम.
नहीं, I'm still talking about the High Court. High Court
High-
came
High
up
Court
with
was
double-sided.
legal. High Court was
Legal.
legal. That A4 and double-sided is very, very
2022.
On the original side, it was
original
always,
side, yeah.
that
Original
was
side,
A4.
it came, I think, with the commercial court
Yeah,
side, if
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not wrong.
Yes,
And thereafter, High Court in Delhi overall adopted कि ठीक है आप double-sided A4 पे filing कर सकते हैं. And you know like keeping in mind that all of us went through that phase जब हमने hybrid method को adopt किया, हमने फाइलें अपने लैपटॉप पे पढ़ी, उसी सेम लैपटॉप पे अपीयर किया, उसी सेम पे फाइल पढ़ी, and maybe some of us got another device for our
I
convenience.
think most of us did. So
iPads,
I think
iPads.
I didn't.
We had a word.
We had a word about it. The entity that's made the most amount of money, at least here, is Apple.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody who could afford to get one just had
got
to
one.
get one.
And now
got one.
once you have an iPad, you want the pencil.
Yeah.
When you have the pencil, you want
Yeah,
the
well, it's useless.
like, and you want the bigger cover, and then you want something more lucid, and you want something nice, and everyone's like, you know, it's now
And there
a
are
status
those
symbol.
nice apps also,
Yeah.
because now that you have an iPad and you have a
wanna make
pencil,
notes. Yeah.
you want to like subscribe to an app
Yeah.
and you want to use it.
Yeah.
But then there is, so for instance, I use GoodNotes and
love it.
It was amazing, but GoodNotes doesn't recognize bookmarking.
Bookmarking, huh?
So that's the problem, because the files that come to you are bookmarked, and if you lose that, you can't
Then
scroll through a 400, 500 pages.
You can't be
file.
like,
So then you think of buying, and then you also have to do e-filing, for which on Apple and things like that you can't really use pirated versions, or at least I can't use. I'm not that tech savvy. So then you spend money to buy that. Then
PDF expert.
PDF expert.
right.
And then you buy money because other than you, then you see these seniors using their bigger iPads, and you see, oh, they can make notes, and they can. So how you
Right
make
on the
notes,
side,
and then you
yeah.
can just tap on that and link to the page, and that page just pops up.
Yeah.
So then you get to know there's something called liquid text, which is even more expensive.
Liquid text is the best shit out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I know. So, well,
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So I
It's
really
not
felt.
vicious, man. Come on, like right now you have an app where you can load up your document, do whatever you want with it, bookmarking, note taking, connecting graphs to it, and like there's an extension of liquid text where in case you end up taking notes out of a 600-page bulky file,
Yeah.
all of that automatically becomes a Google document that you can use anywhere, just as, like you're good to go. Like that's something like that's an extension of liquid text.
Yeah.
So I think imagine the amount of clutter that it has taken away from our
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
Great. The people.
I mean, physical clutter, yes, but what about the e-clutter?
Yeah,
Because we
e-clutter.
don't see it, so we don't know how much e-clutter
I
is
don't know
out
how
there.
organized you guys are. I'm not. And
I try to be.
Let's
Yeah.
not talk about organized.
I try to be.
Yeah.
But then you end up saving like different versions on different devices.
Yeah, like
also because
final
you're still
one.
in the process of figuring out. Na? You're like, अच्छा cloud पे डालूं के desktop पे डालूं ये करूं,
OneDrive, कहाँ से
Yeah,
कहाँ-
OneDrive, and there's Google Drive, then there's PDF Expert, then there's Liquid Test, and in the end of the day, you're just like, I've got like 5 versions of the same file.
So when I'm cleaning, I'm just like,
Yeah.
ये क्या है?
ये कौन सा वाला final है?
फिर से क्यों है? Yeah. But in all honesty, I think so I at that time used to work for a senior great man who was very tech savvy. उनके सामने मुझे कभी कभी ना ऐसे डायनासोर जैसा फील होता था because he was just so curious about those little things. So that transition for me was not as hard.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people struggled with their seniors.
Yeah.
Because they were not tech savvy. हमको
Yeah.
like वही ना नो वो of course यार sticky notes लगा के वो आसान तो हो ही जाता है सब कुछ flag कर दो and you know you make your notes in accordance with that and you can have a table as big as this full of just for yourself,
Yeah.
just for that one matter. You can't do that with a laptop or an iPad and you know like maybe laptop, iPad, phone सब कुछ साथ में रख के. But I felt कि ठीक है okay we've moved a little forward, we've moved ahead, and I think 2022 April we went back to how things were and all the matters, everything came back up. And if I'm not wrong, and litigation, I'm as far away from litigation right now in my life as I am with my ex. So that should say something.
Here.
And rightly so. To both of them.
Yay.
So amen to that, sister.
Yeah, so and I read some very recently, I think just a few days ago, that there was a petition in the Supreme Court where the request was, the prayer was that हम सारे हाई कोर्ट सारे ट्रिब्यूनल में फाइलिंग को A4 डबल साइडेड कर देते हैं क्योंकि लीगल शीट A4 से थोड़ी लंबी होती है, वो सिर्फ इसी पर्पस के लिए यूज होती है, एक्स्ट्रा पेपर क्यों यूज कर रहे हैं हम?
And single-sided printing is just, it's a catastrophe.
Yeah, and but this was rejected.
The funny thing is that like
This is
we're
rejected.
talking about paper and all that stuff, and the other day I was talking to a friend and legal tech की बात ही कर रहे थे, and was like, what is the ideal scenario जिसमें court काम कर सकता है and problems can get solved like the minute they're formed rather than having a file, having a complaint, having a consent, having a wakalat and all these things.
Yeah.
So I was telling him that in my utopian sense, the best way, if you've been fucked by somebody financially or anything that you want to do legally, it should be as easy that you press a button on your phone and the judge just comes and is like, "What's up?"
Is your utopia. Sup, bro? How much money this time?
So
Privilege.
the thing, good, it's possible in a way that
sure.
let's say if you can get that
Did I
kind of.
not just like mention that the Supreme Court rejected the fact कि हम सिर्फ A4 पे double sided filing कर सकते हैं पूरे
Yeah.
देश में?
What they say? Why they reject it?
I didn't read that. You guys are still in the profession. I'm not.
See, it's only
thought I
even
pushed my luck.
even the Supreme Court. If you've got the money, you've got the right calls to make. You can have Mukul Rohatgi, Singhvi, and Sibal sitting on your case, and they'll have a hearing at 3 in the night or whenever the
At a beck and call.
at your back. Like I myself appeared in the Supreme Court at 3 in the night in that exact hearing, although
Yeah.
not like argued because bade vakil baithe hue the. But I've seen that when you're having that kind of power and that kind of money, everything is at your beck and call, which is something that I don't know, promotes inequality in the system, which proposes equality as one of its ground rules.
Yeah, but that's and you're right. I mean, I don't I don't agree with your utopia because I don't think that's possible. But I do understand the sentiment behind it, that justice and the mechanism towards getting justice should be accessible.
Should be that accessible.
Yeah, it's not. Today it should be that accessible, and today it's not even remotely accessible because of the whole rigmarole and the whole, complicated procedure that we've put in place.
Yes,
So
Sometimes
like,
it's difficult for lawyers
you
also.
just look at it like this, like if a friend comes to you, and I've done it with so many friends, if a friend comes to you and asks you कि भाई तुम वकील हो, I've gone through this, ये fraud हो गया, वो हो गया, वगैरह वगैरह. Do you actually have the heart to advise a friend? Friend, get into it, fight for
I
it.
don't.
Don't do.
No,
Forget.
I always tell them stay away. Stay
Yeah,
away from
forget
court.
friends.
Exactly.
I do it to my clients also, sometimes at the
Yeah.
cost of my own puppy paid.
Correct.
But I try and tell them that, listen, this is exactly what you're going to be signing up for.
Yeah.
It's not a rosy picture. This is not even like that movie Damini or any other movie or Pink, because at the end
Going to take
some
years
just
and
going to
years
be
of
long
your
drawn
life.
it's going to take
battle.
years. It's going to take a
And
lot of
you'll
your
be
money.
nasty and you'll be nasty and cold and mean. You'll have those feelings in you till the time the battle goes on.
And then it's really
It's a never-ending battle in the first
It is
place.
a
I understand
never-ending one.
because you feel like judgment आ गई है, मजा game खत्म, पैसे आ गए.
The very next day there's an appeal filed, yeah.
Appeal का judgment. Then you have another appeal going into the second appeal. Then after that you have the Supreme Court and like high district court. You might still be able to fight, being able to get shorter dates, begging the judge. Sometimes even going aggressive on the judge ki, come on man, like you gotta give me that date, and you might get a case done in like 2 years. Supreme Court, it's honestly just destiny at some point of time that you might not even get to know that your
When
case
is the matter coming?
आया ही नहीं, मतलब 2 साल हो गए, matter आया ही नहीं
Notice
है.
issue.
I think this was the worst part about the pandemic, that कोर्ट के पास टाइम ही नहीं था, जितनी लिस्ट आती थी वो सारे मैटर्स टेकअप हो ही नहीं सकते थे. इट वाज एंड टू थिंक आई वुड जस्ट टेल माई सेल्फ, बिकॉज आई न्यू आई हैड टू गेट आउट ऑफ द प्रोफेशन, आई वुड जस्ट टेल माई सेल्फ दैट लिसन सिस्टर, जो करना है कर लो, ये सब कुछ जब दोबारा खुल जाएगा, बिकॉज एट दैट टाइम ओनली अ फ्यू मैटर्स वर बीइंग टेकन अप, एंड डिस्पाइट ऑफ दैट द लिस्ट वाज सो obnoxiously long that I would just feel that what will happen when all the matters start
So that's
getting
what
listed?
happened, no? That's what happened.
So that's what I wanted to ask you.
We just forgot, and by we I mean the entire system, because we're all a part of it. And that's exactly what happened. That so they used to be the category of regular matters, which were ancient matters. So they were anyway matters which we had partially forgotten.
So I think we've spent a significant amount of time talking about how you're able to make a difference, how you are finding, like that little niche where you want to contribute, but you're getting there, dheere dheere. Anshul to all-rounder hai, so yeah, I think.
Anshul's already gotten there.
Yeah, Anshul's gotten there and a bunch of other things, and he started this. Okay,
It's
so we're all
not
here.
I just like to
Thank
clarify,
you.
like, I don't consider myself as a professional in terms of as a lawyer or anything like that.
So you're not a lawyer.
Modest.
हाँ यार मेरा लॉ प्रैक्टिस मेजॉरिटी कितना रहा है 5 साल का रहा है जिसमें से स्टार्टिंग का 1 साल मैं 30 साल के लोगों को समझा रहा था कि हाउ टू बिकम टेक फ्रेंडली इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस लाइक दैट वाज प्रैक्टिस फॉर मी the first 2 years were more about just getting accustomed to the fact that, oh my god, this practice is just so
I'm
much
gonna have
bullshit.
to cut you here, okay? And since you talked about the first 2 years, let's talk about how the first 2 years of profession were
Pathetic.
for all of us.
Pathetic.
And,
I don't think they are good for anybody.
Yeah, so let's talk about how it is very messed up, especially in litigation. कि मैंने जब स्टार्ट किया था 2016 में, it was a given कि अगर आप वकालत में जा रहे हैं 15,000 से ऊपर अगर आपको कोई दे रहा है तो
भगवान है वो।
आप धन्य हैं. And I think I was also made to feel that if I'm looking for a job where I'm going to get paid anything more than 20 grand a month, and I was a lawyer and I was a practicing lawyer, बहुत मेहनत करते थे, बहुत समय लगाते थे.
And you'd spend money to go to law school.
Yeah. And I had my own expenses. I needed a car. I mean, I already had a car that my parents had given me, so I'm used to
You want
that.
to pay for the fuel, right?
Yeah.
Because you're working now.
I wasn't able to pay for the
But
fuel,
till
man.
today, all my savings go into the fuel.
Yeah.
That's it. For the fuel.
क्योंकि हम एक दिन में ऐसा तो जरूरी भी नहीं है कि हम सिर्फ एक ही कोर्ट जा रहे हैं. सुबह साकेत होते हुए वहाँ मैटर करके हम हाई कोर्ट जाते हैं, हाई कोर्ट से फिर पटियाला हाउस में एविडेंस करते हैं, उसके बाद हम ऑफिस जाते हैं, उसके बाद हम घर भी तो जाते हैं. So
I think a good practice, more than about practice or more than about your law, is really about drawing the line all the time with the things that you're not cool with.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
includes
absolutely.
that includes the fact that you say absolutely no, I won't appear for free. No, I won't.
Absolutely. I
Those
agree.
boundaries are for you, actually. It's not for the other person. Those
Yeah, but
boundaries are
then-
for you. And I have a hard
But
time
you know,
See,
saying
when
yeah.
you're out of law school, just because of that experience of a new universe opening up to you, it's overwhelming because you are like nobody in their right minds when they're entering the courtroom for the first time feels bad that what shit because they're so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, all the lawyers talk about their formative years in practice as something that was really shit because they weren't treated well, they weren't paid well.
That's
Or-
true.
But why do they sustain it? I don't understand. It's
See,
like
because
once
mo-
you've suffered something, you should not make
Yeah,
the other
so I
person
feel
suffer.
that
See-
Because it's about convenience.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
suits
Yeah,
their
like
convenience.
we also come under the purview of then being cheap labor. I mean, and that's what I
Yes.
feel, and that's not
It's
right.
Cheap
because-
labor
cheap
which
labor-
doesn't even have labor rights.
Yeah, labor
Yeah.
rights. Yeah, absolutely.
Cheap
Yeah,
labor
I
क्या है?
felt that was so ironic that I'm representing these people. They have a minimum wage and they're probably earning right about as I am.
Yeah.
And I am fighting for them and मैं रात भर जग के ये काम कर रही हूँ. And honestly, I was made to feel shit about the fact that तुम्हें लग रहा है तुम्हें इससे ज्यादा पैसे मिलेंगे कहीं. Oh really?
You know, when I
think you
got
can do
my
that?
first salary, which was about first was 2,000, and then the second month was 5, and then it continued for about 8 months. I was told that इससे ज्यादा मांगना भी मत, बोलना भी
Point is,
कहना भी
all of this is glorified, you know.
and people are okay with it, and they're like,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm doing litigation, I'm on the desk for like 14 hours and I like it and this.
Yeah,
I
you
like
still
it.
have the fact कि हमको सोने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमको खाने की जरूरत नहीं है, आप
Burn the
dinner भी
midnight
office में-
oil.
Yeah.
You must burn. I am willing to burn the midnight oil, but I should also be compensated for it, and I should not be made to feel like I'm asking for something which is not rightly deserved.
I swear कभी कभी छुट्टी मांगती थी तो मुझे सही में लगता था मैंने मतलब खून मांग लिया है.
Yeah, that's
कि
true.
यार the reaction I would get was कि we don't even have the same blood type,
और
buddy.
सपना
Why do
क्या
you want
था
it?
55 साल की उम्र में सीनियर बनना.
नहीं, ये मेरा कभी सपना नहीं था. I think like I was very passionate about the profession for the first year and उसके बाद I knew कि मैं बस यहाँ भटकूंगी.
So you know, I'm very surprised, and it amazes me, and I've asked a lot of people. I mean, whoever I can randomly walk up to a senior and ask them what is it that motivates them. But I keep asking my friends, my fellow litigators, especially. I've asked my senior this, I've asked my juniors this. And what is it that motivates you? Where does the motivation to do this day in and day out comes from?
And
Because
what do you get?
well, I asked somebody very senior in the profession, and because I told them that, like for instance, a file comes to me at 8 o'clock, I'm supposed to read up, make a note, research and everything. Chalo, my work is still done by 10, 11. I can continue to do my research. But after that is when a senior will typically sit and read the file, and they are supposed to know the file page by page, because they are the ones appearing before the court.
Yeah.
So how do they do this? So I don't know. I still haven't cracked it, because the answers I've gotten is, somebody told me that, when someone puts their faith in you for their matter, which is very important to them, whether it's financially or otherwise, किसी का घर टूट रहा है, किसी की company जा रही है, किसी के साथ domestic violence, or whatever it is, you feel important and you feel responsible. So therefore you do this.
Right.
But I don't know if that is still enough to sustain this motivated drive every
single day. Not at all.
Yeah,
But,
because at least it doesn't do that to me.
It's maybe not
overwhelming.
for us. So I had the good fortune to work with a senior advocate who is exactly like how you described him. I worked for him for over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And मैं मतलब एकदम कभी-कभी ना ऐसे, he was very particular about having a work-life balance. He was very respectful.
That's a new one.
Yeah, and he made sure that our professional fee, like his people who worked for him or worked with him, he always treated us with respect. But जब वो सुबह कोर्ट में आते थे एंड मेरे पास वो फाइल 4 दिन से है, तभी मैंने सब पढ़ी हुई है, मुझे ऊपर नीचे तभी इसलिए सब कुछ पता है, क्योंकि वो सर के पास आने से पहले आई है. शाम को हम कोर्ट के बाद वी वुड हैव अ कॉन्फ्रेंस एंड दैट्स व्हेन ही अंडरस्टैंड्स द मैटर. आई प्रॉब्ली गिवन हिम अ नोट, द क्लाइंट्स हैव गिवन हिम अ नोट, एंड द नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग ही इज टेकन आउट थिंग्स फ्रॉम द फाइल व्हिच आई हैड मिस्ड, द क्लाइंट हैड मिस्ड, एंड मतलब I was in awe. I am still in awe with Mr. Virmani कि आप ऐसा कैसे
the same text is understood absolutely differently.
Yeah.
And in such a
like,
short span of time.
time,
I
yeah,
see my
like-
senior Mr. Ghosh just, the clients are here and there are volumes and volumes of briefs, and I'm dreading looking at the brief. I'm like, how do I deep dive into this pool, and where does it start and where does it end? And in 30 seconds of the briefing, he's like, okay, so this is the issue.
Yeah.
And I still look at him amazed. How do you
do you
do
do
that?
that?
So the answer again,
and this is one file, huh? This is one file. They deal with like multiple.
Yeah,
And like the last few
I don't
days.
know what is it that keeps people, because let's face it, we all of us can't be operating at 100% 100% of the time all the time. We can't do that. It's not it's humanly not possible. Some days you will not feel well because your health is giving you a tough time. Some day it's a personal thing, some day it's a family
and
thing.
I would take my time off, but my boss didn't. And honestly, we were working on commercial matters, so it wasn't that किसी के साथ domestic violence होता, किसी का घर टूट रहा.
But it's still
that can't, but
Yeah,
that
still
can't
at
happen with
stake.
criminal at all.
The
That can't
amount
happen
of
with
passion
criminal
that
at
I
all.
saw in that man towards his work, I think like I learned so much from him now that I'm not a
I think more than passion, it was the fact that their bedrock also was very solid, and because we as juniors, I mean, I'm no superstar or anything, and neither have cracked the code of like killing it at court or anything like that. But I think I've seen an exponential growth in terms of my appearance, right from somewhere around 2,000 rupees a day in court, which was like a year ago, to somewhere around 55,000 rupees a day, which I currently will take if I know that the client's got deep pockets and I wish to appear. Yeah, and I am not getting a lot of appearances as such because the industry dictates a certain standard कि 500 रुपए में साकेत पे वकील मिल जाता है तो मेरे को 55,000 क्यों देगा?
Also, dinner's on Anshul tonight, guys.
But the critical fact, what
Happy birthday.
so what I do understand is that sure, you got to compromise on literally everything that is not important to you. And the minute like you come across something that is really important to you, sure, go ahead and do it. Why not already? Like, I'd be rather happy to appear on a matter for free rather than make myself feel good in a very fake way that I'm earning 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rupees out of it. And the immaterial fact really just pushes me in getting worried कि अच्छा ये file भी है, वो file भी है, वो file भी है. Why is the senior able to do it like in a really good manner? Man, come on, his motivation is all those lakhs of money that is in his bank account.
I think there's
No,
also
but that's also
drive,
not true. I have been blessed
yeah.
with the senior very recently who just loves to, he's dedicated to that one file.
I love how you put it like
Yeah,
you've
like,
been
blessed with
blessed
the
with a
senior.
senior.
because
What are we talking
I
about?
honestly feel, the first job that I had it did not end so well.
It was pathetic, and you were forced to leave the office because
Yeah,
you
like-
weren't doing well.
Yeah, thanks, Anshul.
Have we all all
PTSD.
at some point.
Yeah.
So, but I also felt that it took me a while. It took me about a year and a half to deal with that. And then after that, there's an angel who came into my life who
Also,
really
it's like
gave
a bad
me...
breakup, no?
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's
leaves
worse
a
than a
bitter
heartbreak, actually.
And you know
taste
the
in your
worst part
mouth.
about this bad breakup is you see each other in court.
Yeah, and I remember I saw him at a distance and I cried because I couldn't face him for like about 2 months. I couldn't face him. Now I'm like, hello, what's up? But okay, but yeah.
Well, it's
So-
time to get your gear out and like consider the fact that the moment you're stepping outside your house
And-
for any reason whatsoever, it's a warfare.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's not your
Life
divine practice
is a
of law or you being able to narrate the Magna Carta is gonna make money
But
for
again,
you.
where does the fuel to sustain that warfare on a daily basis come from?
I think-
it's a place of passion that none of us can understand because we are at a different tangent. And I'm gonna change the topic and
Yeah.
ask all of you right now: do you see yourself? I'm out of the profession. Do you see yourself in litigation 20 years from now?
Yes.
50?
Oh God, I really don't know. I am contemplating this every single moment of
10
my
years.
life. But yeah, I really do feel. But you know what? What makes it difficult actually is that I am choosing litigation over everything. That's not the way
So
I
what
want
is-
my
what
life
is-
to be at
yeah.
all. So for as long as I can remember, I love to dance. I love to do
Yes.
And
creative
she's a
arts.
fantastic dancer.
And also, guys, I just want to tell you that if you get into litigation, you're going to be expected to not have a life, and this should be your life for you to sustain, for you to progress, for you to grow, and for you to have. For you to be successful. And
Absolutely. I
this
mean,
is all. This could just be my view, but feel free to like jump in any of you guys. Cause
No, so I-
मैं कुछ भी बोल सकती हूँ.
No, but I actually had this when I was listening about your introduction, it just made me feel, like how you were able
Because
to
I-
actually you
because-
had that sort of great that you had that kind of
Because I
buffer.
might be pathetic as a lawyer, but I fucking am good at saying fuck you to anything that's out there. As simple
And
as
that's a
that.
skill, right?
That's a
It's a
skill,
life
I
skill.
can't say
Yeah.
no.
It's a life
Like, I
skill.
can't say no to my boss's brother because he's giving me work, or I can't say my boss's
Try and
friend because
understand.
that's the kind of
Try and understand how important do you consider your life is. It is fucking important. The
listen,
most important thing, right?
The first 2 years of our profession, we are also made to understand that यही समय है, यही इसी समय मेहनत करना है, इसी समय जितना
That's going to be the narrative in order to make you dream
well,
about
that's
that
exactly
moonshot.
what
That's the
Right.
narrative we've all been conditioned to believe in ever since we were in school. That बेटा
Yeah.
बस 10th standard है, बस ये कर लो, फिर तो chill
Yeah.
करना है. फिर सिर्फ 12th standard है, बेटा ये कर लो, फिर तो कॉलेज में ऐश है. फिर कॉलेज में गए, हाँ ऐश तो करी. उसके बाद the next pressure is job because everybody is getting jobs. कोई corporate कर रहा है, कोई litigation कर रहा है, क्या
मिल
करे?
गई और तुम 10-15 हजार कमा रहे हो, that is your reality. And
Imagine,
when you
like,
go back home,
आज
you have
भी
to tell your
10-15 हजार रुपए
parents.
लिटिगेशन में मिलता है. लीगल टेक की नौकरी पकड़ोगे ना तो 3 लाख रुपए से कम का
Not everybody can
Not
do
everybody
that.
can
Yeah.
do that.
That's the whole point.
That's-
That anybody who gets into legal tech needs maybe 1 year of studies. YouTube से पढ़
Not
के.
everybody may want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't want to do
I'll
that,
tell
but
you.
then they have another non-traditional legal-oriented career that they can make, and the number of opportunities out there is far more than what you can get inside court. Like even the best senior will not pay you more than 3 lakh rupees. Like let's be clear about that.
yeah.
But
Obviously.
the seniors के
No,
offices
but
में-
then that's great. That's great if you can find your window somewhere. But the point is, where do you get the time? Where do you get you're expected to
Why
be
are
in
you
office
litigating? I think
at
that's a
8:30
question.
in the morning and then, grill yourself till the senior, he wants to, whatever time he wants to sit on the file. You have to be there. You
It's
have to
not
be.
possible.
It's not possible. I want to go for my classes and I can't go. I am trying to do yoga in the morning at 6:30. I have not caught up on sleep. I am like only like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I used
of
to try to
sleep.
get up to walk my dog, and that wasn't happening because I would pull out like all-nighters. It wasn't happening. And no, but to go back to what you're saying and what Niharika was saying, that this profession needs a lot of discipline and a lot of
Yeah.
consistency, and that's also one of my biggest worries about
consistency,
myself.
ऐसे consistency.
Yeah.
Like blinders.
बाकी चीजों को
Blinders.
छोड़ के आगे बढ़ो,
Yeah.
सिर्फ इसी को देख के.
And you
which
have
is
to-
great. And that's why those seniors are where they are, because they've probably done that at some
But
point.
you know,
I
like,
think that
what I
when
also
we try to apply the same metrics that our seniors had, that was 20 years ago, and the profession was different. It wasn't saturated as
and the
saturated
distractions were different.
आज के time पे more number of lawyers are enrolling themselves than the number of lawyers who are
That's
retiring
true.
from
A lot
practice.
more competition.
And the competition is only gonna get worse. Like
Worse,
let's be
yeah.
It's already
And-
getting worse, and
I feel
especially
the
some place
distance-
like Delhi because it's an open market.
So all you gotta do is really just, I think, find your niche and specialization in terms of practicing law. Like don't be a criminal lawyer, don't be a civil lawyer. Be a rape victim accused lawyer or something like that. Like have that kind of specialization, and only then you stand a chance of really making a name, really being able to change the
See,
law.
I agree with you, Anshul, but the problem I personally, that's my view, I feel is that when you start off, you don't really get that choice.
Absolutely.
You start
This is
doing
true.
because it'll start off. So, for instance,
Yeah.
when I was in law school, I was fascinated by criminal law, and I wanted to be one of those lawyers who would fight for victims of domestic violence or rape victims or molestation, things like that. So I've always had this very clear in my head that women and children being soft targets, they need the law needs to protect them, and that's why we've had those legislations also. So I was very motivated to work for something like that, but it didn't pan out like that. I mean, I no regrets. I'm
sure
very
you've done
happy.
well for yourself, and
I mean,
like,
I'm
things are
happy
great.
where I am, and hopefully it'll be upwards and onwards from here. But what I'm trying to say is, it didn't pan out like that.
And
so I didn't
also-
really get to exercise
So
that.
what
choice.
exactly I'm saying?
I
is
don't
that
have you don't have the luxury of choice. I'm sorry I cut you.
I am saying
But,
that
yeah.
I come from privilege, and thankfully my parents and people who were responsible for me did not even bother to tell me that, you know what, you gotta make a buck, you gotta like do this, give money at home and all that stuff that
Yeah.
we as traditional kids, they as traditional kids were supposed to do.
And those are real responsibilities.
in their family. But times have changed, man. Come on, like aaj roti kapde ki ladai na tum lad rahe ho na main lad raha hu. Like, are you worried about not being able to like order from Zomato? No, like that's your drivers. Your
at all.
drivers that
Clearly.
so our drivers comparatively way more mental than it is physical. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
do
long
you
as
guys-
we,
do you guys
and the
feel-
choice. No, so I was saying that the choice that we think that we don't have is the exact choice that is going to make all the difference. And I mean, I honestly don't want to know ना कि मतलब 20 साल बाद मेरे को seniority मिलेगी नहीं मिलेगी, dependent upon a practice on that. I'd rather focus my entire energy and
On that file, on that particular matter.
on a specific line that I know that I'm consciously taking up certain matters only. Matlab, and the avenues for building all of that comes at the cost of you being able to validate your passion. Like the minute I realized that I don't have criminal experience, and I knew that I had to do that, and I was independent at that time, and मेरे को पता था कि मेरे को नहीं मिलेगा इतने आराम से, and going into collaboration with someone is again fucking up a file, fucking up my life. I just simply went to my friends who were SIs, had good chai with them, told them मैं साथ आके रोज बैठूंगा. I sat with them for a week, police station में अलग अलग. I had a list of 50 cases already where I was representing people. It was free.
Breakfast भी खिलाओगे?
It was free. It was free in the beginning. 50 cases for free. But then you eventually scale up very slowly, but you don't realize that the moment you start charging 1,000 rupees from one person on one file, that is giving you 50,000 rupees a month.
Yeah.
More than any profit that you will make out of any law office after deducting your travel expenses, your food expenses, and the number of things that you're supposed to do because you're in an office. And this is something like a 1 month plan. Like, come on. So, I mean, do you really see that there is no need to reevaluate the way we practice law? I mean,
No, absolutely. That's what I was coming to.
Yeah, that's
Because
what she was beginning.
Yeah.
I actually don't understand why I have to not dance, like
Yeah.
to practice law.
making
why
the
I
law
cannot.
going to dance law for all it cares, that's something that's
But
going to be way
but
more
that's-
lucrative
like,
down the line.
That's what I'm
If only
saying.
this
You-
was the parliament and we
yeah.
could legislate.
So I mean, and I'm made to feel it every single day. Are you not? If you're not giving 13 hours, 14 hours to your file, you're not doing justice. You're not doing justice to that person. And there is so much guilt that comes in. I mean, I am thinking of arguments when I'm sleeping. I mean, it's subconsciously going on in my mind constantly. That's why I had that dream. I was
यार
telling
मुझे
you
ऐसे
about,
नींद में ऐसे कुछ आइडियाज आते थे और मैं लिखती थी अपना गूगल
happened.
नोट्स खोल के
Our
कि we should
profession
use
is-
this
our
line, we should
profession
do
is one of
this.
those professions where your work doesn't end in the office. You
Yeah.
bring it back
you bring
home
it,
with
and
you.
it's like Sundays work
You're
from home.
showering, you're on the pod.
You're just like
Yeah,
all the
it's
time.
just- you're constantly.
I don't know. I think I
thinking
was listening
about
to
your
a song
matters.
and then I thought of this one line of arguments that we could take for an arbitration जिसमें final arguments होने वाली थी. And when I took that to my senior, he was like, "This is such a great point, Niharika." I'm like, "Can you tell?" ये मेरे को 3:30 बजे मेरी नींद खुली थी और मैं गाना सुन रही थी और तब मेरे दिमाग में आया था in the middle of nowhere. So that just made, looking back, I feel that it just stressed my mind. It was
Because it
there.
consumes you.
Yeah.
The profession is totally consuming.
yeah.
It doesn't leave
Hands
much
down.
room for anything. And I think, but to add to that, I see that trend slowly changing now.
Do you? Yeah.
I do, because I see
Especially because I
think
think a lot of your contemporaries, would be they would be starting their own practice.
yeah,
They would
and
have their own
in fact, the
office.
other day we were I
And
was
how they're
talking-
treating their own juniors.
Yeah, I was talking to my own senior, and we were, because I'm going to leave his chamber, so we're trying to look for a suitable, substitute. So we were looking around for people and things like that, and in that process, I managed to interact with a couple of very young lawyers, 1 year, 2 years into the profession, and it was amazing to find out that they already have some of their own matters.
Yeah.
I didn't have nothing till about 3 years. 3 years, yeah. And a friend of mine who had gone independent some years back, he told me the third year is when the magic happens. I had no choice but to simply believe in that. because what else could I do?
Yeah.
So I just closed my eyes. I was like, okay, he says it. Okay, third year is when the magic happens. Third year nahi hua. Fir at the end of the third year, I will talk to him. कि kya kiya तूने मेरे साथ?
Yeah.
But of course, it did happen. But that's a separate point. But what I'm trying to say is, even 1 year, 2 years into the profession, people have their own matters,
Yeah.
and that is not something which used to happen before.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
And that COVID really changed that. VC say you were able to appear. I mean, I got a chance to argue, and I was like, wow. I mean, and there were young lawyers setting up their chambers. So I really like that.
Even a lot of interns that I see in my office these days.
I've seen a lot of seniors look down upon people starting off their own practice.
yeah,
when they're
like
young.
already.
They're like,
That's the.
do you have
You know
enough
what
experience?
what that is? Very loosely speaking.
And honestly, I don't have an opinion on that because I never had the intention to go independent.
I have an opinion,
And
and I
I-
have feelings and opinions about it. What I feel is, why the hell could I not do it? Because that's the first thought that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of respect and admiration for people who are able to do it.
I was actually going to say that I've been the most fortunate one here because I joined the chamber of, the person who was actually just a year elder to me in the practice, like a 2017 enrollment. So I saw how grilling, difficult, and how life-consuming, life-taking it is to build your own practice. And I have immense respect for that person because he has just I have seen him grow. I have seen him grow from like a boy out of college to like a full grown arguing counsel.
Man,
So-
it's challenging.
Yeah.
All eyes on you. You're being judged.
and he stays in Delhi.
Your
He's
livelihood, आप कहाँ जा सकते हो, आप क्या खा सकते हो, आप क्या afford कर सकते हो.
And-
Correct.
and
Dependent.
our
I'm
profession-
sure you can talk about this.
Our profession particularly is where, a lot of judges look at you, and simply by way of how young or not so young you look, there is
They
an opinion
decide.
formed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
इसको नहीं पता होगा.
I'll tell you.
You're so young.
No, I was appearing for a Passover in front of this judge, Delhi High Court. As a hint, because naam lene se dikkat hoti hai, so he just basically writes down every word that is coming in his mind. Like every word, it's important that even a Passover order is also supposed to be 2 pages long.
See, I like him.
Yeah,
Cute,
I appear before him. I asked for a Passover because one of my friends' cases and stuff, I was just supposed to be there as a proxy. He asked me, "What is this case about?" I was like, "I'm only here for the Passover." Pencho ends up telling the entire ki I asked so and so person. He doesn't know anything about the case. Like, what year did you pass out? I was like, sir, I passed out in 2017. I was like, he seems to be 2 years into the profession and doesn't
order
know.
भी लिखवा है.
So I was, and this is my second year of practice. So I'm in that phase ki acha judge hai, thodi izzat. Then he was like, how many times have you appeared before a court?
my God.
Then I was like, sir, I've been appearing probably every day for the last year. I was like, this gentleman doesn't. Doesn't.
Listen,
too much.
yeah,
So-
but
and
I
I-
think
my-
this judge has
probably
a
is not the
reputation
one
of
you're
doing
talking
exactly
My switch flipped that day. I was like, hey, I'm just here to take a Passover. And the entire court.
Yeah.
And the entire courtroom went into a furor, how can you talk to the judge like that? And I was standing over there knowing fully well that one, that's probably suspension or contempt or anything.
If
But I
not
was-
debarment.
Yeah.
but I said, I'm here for a Passover. I'm not here for anything else. If you want to know the facts of the case, the advocate on record will be here and he'll tell you all of those things. If you don't want to give a Passover, please pass the judgment. But I am not here to listen to all of this. And I just walked out.
There are 2 aspects to incidents
What you're
like
saying,
these.
yeah.
And it's happened to a lot of people.
He's one of the most respected judges of the Delhi High
not,
Court.
not maybe to this severe extent,
But
but
yes,
of course it has
yeah.
in different.
And it really plays with your confidence.
Yeah,
It
it does.
really plays with
Yeah.
your
But
confidence.
one school of thought
Because
is,
I knew that I'm not going to let that person play with my confidence. I was confident enough to say that whatever, I don't care, and walked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And I was expecting कि अभी कोई आएगा या कहीं से notice
But
आएगा.
that's very bold of you. That's very
Yeah.
bold of you. Most of the interns, most of the people who are starting out, including me, I never had that kind of courage.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't have that kind of courage.
फटी रहती थी पूरे टाइम
Constantly.
Yeah.
मुझसे अभी उनसे कोई पूछे मुझे नहीं पता.
yeah you know like my
I understand, like, yeah,
No,
man.
so that's what I'm saying. That there are two schools of thoughts. One school of thought, of course, is that no matter wherever, before whomsoever you're appearing, you're always supposed to know your file and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that some judges, I've been fortunate enough to, also appear in front of judges who've asked me questions when I've gone for a Passover adjournment. And thankfully, chalo, in that one-off occasion, I knew, so I could answer, and that's earned me some recognition and things like that. So that's one school of thought which I agree with. The second school of thought is, see, the practical reality is lawyers are running across courts. Everybody knows that. The people who are sitting on the bench today were on this side some time back, if not very long ago. So they know exactly what the struggle is. And in such a situation, a lot of times you're literally simply stuck in a court, and you call up a friend or a colleague and simply ask them to appear and ask for a Passover. In that situation, the first school of thought shouldn't really be superimposed over this. There, I mean, you can ask the person if they know the file, but if they're saying that I am simply here to ask for a Passover, I think that should just do it. That should not be a reflection of how competent I am or not. I am literally just, and because of this,
there to just ask for more time.
It is actually because of
sometimes-
such attitude, such remarks, one really leaves the profession.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can leave
this
the
is what happened.
profession. Tomorrow a friend of mine, if they'll call me and they do that, can you appear and can you seek a Passover? I force them to send me the file. I'm like, just send it to me.
हाँ कि बिना
For all I
file
know,
देखे बिना
I
तो
will not
can't.
even have to ask for a Passover, but मेरे को करना पड़ेगा because I don't want to get hauled up, when I really shouldn't. So
And also such derogatory remarks are actually normalized. They're normalized. डांट पड़ी अरे बहुत अच्छी बात है, like good.
So the first time I actually appeared, I was supposed to take a Passover for a government matter. Just I had to take, या तो मुझे notice लेके हाँ मुझे notice लेना था सिर्फ, and then I had to, that's it, and that was my first time, and my boss was stuck up in another court, and he said कि notice accept कर लियो और फिर that's it.
reply का time मिल जाएगा.
And I had been interning with him like 6 months prior to I had actually graduated, so I'm probably just 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks since I've been enrolled. And पहली बार मैं appear कर रही हूँ, and side से my tragedy, there was a senior advocate. So he's making a lot of noise, he's doing chan 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 chan, and so he's doing that, and then like the judge looked at me and I said कि lordship, I'll accept notice. एक तो पहले मुंह से सर निकला, ठीक है, lordship भी नहीं निकला, and then there was more chan 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 by the learned senior, and then I'm shit scared. But I'm shit scared at this point. I'm like, भाई फाइल तो पड़ी है but instructions ही नहीं आया सरकार से, मैं क्या बोलूँगी अभी? And then the judge was passing over the matter, and this is my first time appearing, okay? I'm losing my shit. I'm just like उन्होंने pass over किया, बोला कि lunch के बाद आना, and then he leaned forward like this, and he pulled his glasses down. Did you understand me, young lady? I was like, yes, sir. And I just walked away. But the great part about this thing again was I was working with a great person.
Yeah.
So इसके बाद he made sure that the next appearance after this was it was also in the High Court before a judge. It was a final hearing for a writ petition. He said कि मैं आ जाऊँगा but तू start कर लियो. And I was very well versed with the file. I started. The judge was asking me questions. I was answering. And मैं नीचे से file उठाने के लिए जब मैं नीचे मुड़ी, I saw that my senior is right there.
Oh, that's happened to me also.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
And I just moved aside. That I let him take over, and he didn't move. And
he's like, no, continue.
Yeah, he was like, no, continue.
Because
Even
you're an officer of the court.
Yeah,
Maybe somebody
yeah,
is junior, but you're
absolutely.
answering the queries of the court.
and so was the court, and the court was like, please carry on, young lady. So I was so scared of the word young lady because I was like,
better than madam, no?
Madam is so condescending. I hate it.
yeah.
And I don't understand why is a male lawyer counsel or sir, and why are we madam? And then madam is always it's
Arey,
like,
madam.
please tell me.
Yeah.
ये तो
Madam.
bias के ऊपर भी bias है.
हाँ
है यार, कभी किसी को ऐसे ताना मारना
Doctor
होता
is a gender
Arey,
neutral
madam.
profession,
Madam.
right?
Arey.
So is an advocate. So just call us counsels. We're all
Yeah.
counsels.
There's
here.
someone who agrees with
Yeah. No, I
A
feel
lot
like
of us- a lot of us
Yeah, it was
agree,
so
yeah.
condescending, and it is actually spoken in that manner that you don't know this much.
Like
Madam,
it makes me cringe every time. See, there's nothing wrong with the word madam.
Yeah.
But it's because of how
How
it's
it's
said
been used.
and
Yeah,
how it's
like-
used.
yeah.
That just the cringe worthiness is just
Yeah.
oh my
The
god.
judges sit over there, they're like, it's our court. Like, you said now that you just uttered sir instead of my lord. So I take that as a yardstick of how much seriousness I'm gonna treat the court with, because like call me self-important, I don't fucking care. But when I say my lords, I'm respecting you to the like treating you as the ultimate person in my life at that point of time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hold you to that word, right? So if a judge is, in my opinion, exceeding his power or exceeding his mannerisms, where he is really trying to make a joke out of the council, I'm not going to say that, you know what, like I'm a council over here and I'm supposed to like be this person who's supposed to be well behaved when you're trying to throw some garbage at me.
Yeah.
And
In such situations, I just maintain a straight face, like a resting bitch face.
I
That just to
I
show
got
that
fucked majorly.
this is not appreciated.
Gogoi was the Chief Justice and I was arguing my own PIL. And one guy before me has this ridiculous PIL where naming Aligarh Muslim University to some Ram Janmabhoomi or something like that, a frivolous PIL. This guy goes and like Gogoi throws his file. Sanjay Kishan Kaul was sitting with him.
Cutie.
And I had
He's a cutie.
I had like researched my petition for 2.5 years, right of access to make a clean public toilet as a fundamental right, especially for women, in order to restore equality, and like judgments and like compiling data from literally every district court. So it was like 500 district courts के जितने भी toilet के cases थे वो तक मैंने निकाल के रखा हुआ था. And I go and I say this, Gogoi says what is wrong with young lawyers at the bar. So I am baffled कि ये हुआ क्या यार, मतलब अच्छे से तो पढ़ा है, the case note is ready. So like first try, I was like, may I pass on this? And that list was basically those 550 district courts and the cases, and the high court, their cases, the loss in revenue, like basically a cause effect analysis of the toilets of the country. And a lot of good NGO works over there. So
it started with the status of the toilets in the district courts itself.
It said,
I
was gonna say high court में तुम्हें याद है first floor पे bathroom बहुत बाद में खुला था.
Just
There
by
was
the way,
no
commercial
washroom.
building अलग ही
अभी-
zone है
अभी-
और like पुराना वाला main building अलग ही zone है. It's
अभी
like
तक open drain है high court के old building में, just by
And
the
this
way.
is the high court. I
Correct,
mean,
correct.
the days I have to go to Kadkarduma or Tisazari, I don't drink water.
Yeah,
I just
can we
don't.
can we talk about this?
That's
Can we really talk about?
That's exactly
yeah.
what I said. What I said to Gugoi, that can I pass this on? Can I pass this note? It's really important. So he's like, no, we don't want to read anything. I was like, my lords, this is a very important note. My lords, may please have it. And he's like, no, what is wrong with young lawyers? And Mukul Rothgi बैठा हुआ है इधर. And see, chief court था, सारे बड़े बैठे हुए थे. I again flip my switch and I was like, my lords should get out and see what the toilet is like. Perhaps the smell and the stench will make my lords aware of what's going on.
my
Boom.
my God.
आग लग गई. My senior is like बिल्कुल पीछे खड़े हुए देख रहा है कि ये क्या कर रहा है. मुकुल रोहतगी ऐसे देख रहा है कि ये क्या हो रहा है. All the people are looking कि अब मरेगा. So Mukul Rothgi sounds like nothing. So everybody sort of
Not
surrounds.
trying to comfort you, like
my
नादान है
Around
बेचारे.
and patronize.
patronize, but I am already in my zone. तो मैंने बोल दिया, no, my lords should understand the problem is not really happening on your side. The problem is happening for people like me and people from similar walks of life
Yeah,
who have to get troubled because of UTI and things like that. I make this ludicrous statement that elites will never understand what's wrong or what's
That's
wrong with the
true.
That
peasants.
is very
So
true. The number of I think we've talked about this when we were discussing.
Imagine the reaction that the Chief Justice of India is saying to that. He throws the file that I won't hear it whatsoever. Like, that's the kind of shit that I have seen with the Chief Justice of the country to whom I was forced to say, my lords, I apologize. I didn't, because I clearly said that I am more than happy to shit in the courtroom rather than take any nonsense about the fact that why is this not important in the first place. And
But I think we're pinning our hopes on the new one. Yeah, the new Chief Justice. of
Yes,
India.
we are.
yeah, DYC, great hopes over there. Please.
सबका करता
Just
धरता
fucking please, oh my
सबका
God.
I personally
जगत
feel
क्रश.
the cuter the person is, the worse the heartbreak. Therefore.
नहीं देखो कुछ उनकी जजमेंट पढ़ के तो मतलब ऐसे ना आंखों से I'm like this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
This is just like oh.
Well-
But everybody who reaches at that stage also has to some
Cater to
extent
the,
play by the rules.
Yeah, of
And the
course.
rules of the
Yeah.
game are something which we sitting here
Yeah.
will not understand. We
Yeah.
don't have to play by them, fortunately.
Yeah.
Or unfortunately, I don't know, whatever that is. But yeah, I think It's the same thing, yeah. I mean, if you want to change the system, you still have to be a part of it. You succumb to some parts of things.
You have to. That's part of the
yeah,
process.
otherwise you can't. You can't
But-
reach
but
at the top and make that.
But I
at
also
the
want
same
to
time-
actually add on this. I feel that okay, it's good to tweak. It's good to tweak, and maneuver.
Yeah.
But it's not good to manipulate. So I mean, what I feel is that as lawyers, the layers that we function from, it's become okay for us to manipulate people. It's become okay for the judges, for everybody around to manipulate.
Yeah.
And manipulate has a very subtle
Do you
hint
guys
of being
think that
cunning.
this profession involves a certain level of manipulation?
Absolutely,
does.
absolutely.
I think it's
It
part of
thrives
the-
on
yeah.
manipulation. It actually thrives.
So it's
How
starting
you
from
manipulate your
something-
words, how you manipulate the law.
starting from something as simple as why do you think a senior advocate or designated senior advocate should or does get paid so much, so
Yeah.
much for a lot of hearings? And I'm not saying that their experience, which is so much more than us, that hasn't taught them anything. Of
Right.
course it has.
Right, right.
But of course, if you keep doing the same thing,
Yeah.
or if you keep reading and learning and studying, you will get good at what you do.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, clients simply are told to or advised to engage seniors because of the face value.
Yeah.
What is that
Yeah.
face value? That is nothing but manipulation.
Manipulation, yeah, absolutely.
You want to avoid an adverse order, get a senior.
Yeah.
You want to get
But
a
at the
stay
end
order,
of
get a
appearing
senior.
before
By
a
the end
particular-
of it, you may actually get a pathetic order and an adverse order, but
and that
because it was a
happens.
senior, you won't see a thing. But
Yeah.
had it been a young lawyer, it would have been, oh my god, that was a wrong
That's
decision.
absolutely manipulation and nothing else.
Fuck you. Like
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that's what we're supposed to
Like-
go with.
Briefing councils change like this, It's like my boss used to tell me, like, you have no idea. We are dispensable. You have to.
but try and understand your boss's dream is not your dream, na?
Yeah,
Like, तो
but
क्या
that's also
किसको
like-
बनना है अपने बॉस की तरह? साला जिंदगी नहीं है वो, साला उसका लेजर टाइम है श्री फोर्ट पे लॉन
Bad, देखा
श्री फोर्ट पे स्विमिंग जाना या
Badminton.
गोल्फ खेलना, बैडमिंटन कुतुब पे जाना, ये सब करना.
But see, it's not also easy to take a stand for yourself the way that you've done
Yeah,
that
like
for yourself.
I am
mean,
saying that
low-key impressed.
I'm saying that the minute you guys realize that choice is the only thing that you need to make.
Yeah, but it's
Realization
easier
is
said than
there,
done.
yeah.
Everybody comes with a different set of, and there's a lot to do with the kind of background you come from, the kind of conditioning that you've been brought up with, the kind of privilege you have or
what
do not
is the
have. and
status
things
of your
like-
savings when you
Yeah.
decide
a lot
to
of
take a
it.
call like this?
So, for instance, that discussion on whether somebody would do or should do a matter for $1,000 or $2,000 or things like that. Sometimes when like I said, sometimes there is no, it's just a tunnel you're walking through. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. You're just told there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see it.
But that's
right?
why the people who exercise that choice are going to see the.
yeah,
see
in
the
that
tunnel.
case, no, but like I said, it's easier said than done because we're all dealing with human beings here.
Yeah.
Everybody comes
And-
from different schools of thought, different because we can't put everybody in a straitjacket formula and say that we can all make our choices.
I'm sure, like,
it's not as easy. Is
No,
what
we-
I'm saying.
we
It's
can,
the right thing to do.
It's the
but
only.
it's not as easy and
so,
it's more complicated.
Exactly. When I analyze the litigation industry and being somebody who is in it already, I see the fact that anybody who doesn't make these alt choices to either create their own niche category of specialized litigation or does something in life which is related to their which is related to litigation but isn't directly appearing in courts,
Yeah.
has a far more better chance of achieving success than somebody who's going through that exact rat race, which was the success formula
It has
25
taken
years
me
ago.
3 years to just understand I would want to represent someone or a refugee. It has taken me 3 years to actually talk to an organization to trust me enough to give me a case. So it's not that and 3 years of it's not just that it's been a battle it's been an external battle. It's been an internal battle. Mostly an internal
And
battle.
it took me 6 years,
See, I
2
smoke like-
sabbaticals, 1 divorce to finally, and then some more time to actually decide that
I don't
मेरे
wanna
को ये
do
नहीं,
this.
I knew I didn't want to do this, but to take that call
Step, yeah,
that I don't
absolutely.
want to do this.
I mean, you
It
guys are
took
like
some
really
time.
caught up with like
Like,
lit work that you guys don't realize. But whenever
No, it's not just that. So I'll tell you, when I went to law school, like I was saying, I wanted to do criminal litigation because it was glamorous and things like that. But in my 5th year, I got a campus placement and I happily took it. Because that time, I mean, my priorities were something different. My priorities were I have to handle my college fest because I was supposed to be the convener. I wanted to have a good time. And I also I also wasn't sure that as a family, because litigation, we all know how much
Yeah.
we used to get paid, right?
Right.
And I was not from Delhi, and I wanted to start it in Delhi. So I didn't know if, as a family, we were able to be in a position where my parents could support my ambitions then.
Right.
And on the side, I have this corporate job, this glamorous job, and also you're freshly out of college, you want to earn your own money.
You want to do
money
things.
from
Yeah,
somewhere.
you want to do
wanna
things for
travel,
yourself.
you wanna
Yeah.
buy things. You
Yeah.
don't want to live off somebody else's money. So I took that. And for a year, I was there at a bank, and I realized that this is not what I want to do. And then I remember I came down to Delhi, and I met with another senior advocate for an interview. She loved me. We decided I would join, and then she told me the salary, which was going to be 18,000. I was getting paid 80,000 a month that time.
Oh.
I was not ready to take that drop.
At that time.
Absolutely.
So I said I can't do this.
Yeah.
And that is when I got poached by a law firm. So I took that.
Yeah.
So I sold my soul to the devil, and then I
Yeah.
sold it one more time
To a different kind of
to a different kind of devil nonetheless. And I did that for another year. So it took her 3 years to come where she is. It took her 6 years to
Well,
be
cheers.
where
Like,
she is.
now let's become people who buy souls rather than.
Yes, that's a harsh reality. Yeah, it took me 3 years. I mean, 2 corporate jobs, living in Bombay, being in a toxic relationship, thinking this is how I want my life to pan out. That to simply one day just going up to my partner and saying, you know what, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So it's not
Any
it's not
rebellion out
easy.
there needs a voice.
So guys, I think in this profession, हमने upside देखा है, downside देखा है, and we've also experienced a phase where we're just there, we're just existing, we're part of the system,
Floating in the
yeah,
Red Sea.
you're just floating, and somebody who's 3 years into the profession, and someone who's 8 years into the profession,
Litigation 5, but yeah, 5
Yeah.
and a half, whatever.
and 5 and 6 years, and then I'm very happy and not the part of the profession. But in all, I think it's safe to say that you have to take your chances.
Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
to actually get into the profession to understand whether it is for you or not, and then
Unless you try it, you will never know.
You
And
will
it's the
never
same thing
know.
with anything.
and सिर्फ litigation में घुसना काफी नहीं है ना, फिर वहां पे आपको कैसा काम मिलता है, आपको कैसे seniors मिलते हैं. I
That's
think
very
Everything is on your
Very
senior.
yeah,
Everything-
yeah.
Having a good senior is a game changer. It's the
Absolutely.
Game,
the
If I-
grooming you get,
exactly.
the
base
learning
that you
do,
build,
and
yeah.
how you work,
Yeah.
Like I've always believed that working smarter is more important than just working hard.
Khachar.
That's very, very, yeah.
Khachar nahi ghoda. Woo!
Khachar also, ghoda also. I mean, a donkey is also
Yeah.
very, very hard working, right?
Yeah.
But it's still we still
yeah.
call somebody a donkey,
donkey.
when you want to
Correct.
make fun
Yeah.
of them being dim-witted.
And honestly, मेरे को तो अपने अंदर I see traits of what I learned from my seniors in my profession, in my current profession as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And वो दिखता है और वो तुम्हारा base build करता है. So I
that's
think
true. That is true.
this has been a great conversation, guys.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining in. This was fun, and you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next
You
episode.
can bang the gavel with
Yes,
this
please.
one.
Adjourned.
Yeah, adjourn.